and it'll take me over to Facebook. Apparently, I'm learning how to work out the kinks in Zoom, so I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah.
Of course, I might have said that a little too early. We haven't quite gone live, but it looks like it's happening.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we are live. It's happening.
Yay.
It is time again, boys and girls, for your daily bread. I'm so glad that you guys are here. And in these uncertain times and all this craziness, there's anxiety, there's worry. And I thought, well, how do we fight back? How do we fight that? How can we be the light in this dark world? And that's where the idea came to me as I was meditating on that couch, the daily bread. Give us our daily bread. That's where it came from. Yes, there is a religious bend to it. If you guys don't know, I'm a Catholic, so take that, and hop off if you don't like it. The best part about this is that I get to bring you super cool people. A lot of the Podcast Factory family stepped up to the plate when I told them what we were doing, because I'm pretty sure that everybody at the Podcast Factory, everybody at our Podcast Factory family wants to do more, have more, be more, and give more. And today we are giving more. I have Miss Amanda Neely. What is up?
Hey, JR, how's it going?
I'm shocked that you would do this with me because I know you don't like getting on these videos. So I'm shocked and I'm humbled that it's such a big calling that you came up to the plate and you got on before Brandon because Brandon's a ham.
True story. Yeah, when you sent the video asking for people to help you in this daily bread project, I was like, yes, this is exactly the kind of message that I want to see out there. So it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
So let's see if I can do this properly. I want to make sure. And I don't know how this happened. I'm just gonna say because I know some of our other Podcast Factory family is gonna be a little jealous when they see this. But everybody out there, take a look at my screen. This is the Podcast Factory Client Showcase. And at the very top, of course, is me and Hudson. But somehow, when we redid this, somehow the Neelys ended up right next to us. I don't know how. It was not done on purpose. But Brandon and Amanda, or here on the cover it says Amanda and Brandon, are Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. They are close friends of ours. You can see pictures of us hanging out and having ramen together. Talk to these guys every week. They're also involved in my financial life. I think Amanda and Brandon saved me when they sent me the Profit First book, and I also trust them with other needs that I have, including life insurance. So yeah, Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. Check them out. Always dropping knowledge bombs every week at the Podcast Factory. Are you every week or every other week?
Every other week right now.
Every other week. All
Yep.
right, so they're on the light plan here. All right, good. So Amanda, what's going on? What are you guys doing right now? First of all, you guys just bought a new house. Congratulations. Uh,
Thanks.
because it seems like you got there in the nick of time. You got the move and everything right before the stuff hit the fan. So how are you
Yeah.
guys settling in over there?
We're doing okay. So it was last Friday that we closed on the house, and as we were driving, we were in Chicago. Now we're in Cincinnati. As we were driving, we were kind of joking. Maybe they won't let us cross state lines. We'll get into Indiana, and then we won't be able to get into Ohio. And we thought we were joking, but like that looks like it could be a possibility in the future, right? But we got here safe and sound. We had to the first night we went to get some groceries and there was hardly anything, but then we waited a couple days so we're able to get what we needed. We have plenty of toilet paper finally.
The old toilet paper shortage. Good. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you guys, and this is your first house, so I want to congratulate you guys. I'm so happy, and I've watched your journey. I've watched you guys grow, and I'm inspired by you guys daily. So what we're doing here with the Daily Bread Project is keeping the message positive, focusing on the light while everybody else is being dark. People are being bombarded by the media and just getting hit over the head with what's terrible. I want to bring what's good. So what's good with you guys right now? What are you doing to stay productive and positive?
Yeah, there are so many things that we could be doing. I love that so many people that I follow and get like their emails in my inbox that they're sending out positive messages. And I'm trying to take those in rather than like watch the news all the time or that kind of thing. Um, the people like Marie Forleo or Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. I love the emails I'm getting from them, and that really lifts my spirits. And the podcast that, that Marie's putting out, or that other people that are part of the podcast factory are putting out. So I'm making sure I'm listening to the right things, like the Daily Bread. And then that helps me then. A lot of what they're talking about is focusing on what you can control. Um, Focusing on the immediate steps you can take today. Um, we Part of what we do, thinking about grandma's wisdom, is that that's often a long-term thing, right? We're thinking multiple generations or at least a few decades, right? Most of the time. But to bring that in, to focus on what can I do in the next 24 hours? What can I do in the next week? That's been really powerful. Um, Keeping that long term in mind, like, where do I want to be when I'm 70, 80 years old? Where do I want my children and grandchildren to be? But letting that bring to, well, then what's the one thing I can do today? What's the positive step I can do today? What's within my control? That's been really powerful for us in this time. And that's often not about us. It's about the value we're bringing to someone else, right? It's not, what can I selfishly do to make sure I'm good when I'm 70 or 80? It's, how can I help someone else that's going to provide value to them and make me feel better about myself, make me more confident in the steps I'm taking, that kind of thing. So that shift in focus to today and to others rather than to myself has been really powerful.
You guys have always been this way too, since the very first chat that you and I have had. You guys have an intense generosity. You're intensely giving, and it's hard not to love you guys. Really, like, we love you guys. Like, we talk about you guys, and I mean, like, I feel close to you guys, even though we've only met once. But it's because of that giving spirit that you have. And so, did you guys? You always had that, even from the coffee shop days, didn't you? You guys were
Yeah.
always about the overflow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's really in giving that we receive, right? And it's not to give for give's sake. And we don't give so that we can receive. But that's really, like, there's so much joy that comes in giving. And once you start doing it, it's addicting. It's hard not to do it anymore.
Wow. Giving is addicting. That's a quotable, ladies and gentlemen. If we were doing show notes, that would be a power quote right there.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So so you're talking about giving more, which is actually, I recorded a video on that today. Is exact words. Giving more was what we as leaders in the light, need to be doing today. So what are
Yeah.
some of the things that you guys are doing? Well, how are you giving? How are you getting out there, or maybe staying in here, but still giving and helping?
Yeah, a lot of it's one-on-one work, giving in the way that people really need. Like, just yesterday, I was talking to a lady who is about to start a new job, and she's trying to think through, how much should I put in the 401k to get a match? Should I do a health savings account? Like, we were thinking through all those things together. But then collectively, we want to make sure people, even if they're isolating, even if they're distancing, that they still feel connected. So we're going to be hosting a couple live calls where we jump on Zoom, kind of like you and I are doing right now. I don't know if we'll live it to Facebook or not. We'll have to figure out the technology there. But where people can join in and have a conversation, we'll provide some practical tips that they're not going to hear from the popular gurus out there, where their tips are just, don't open your 401k account. Don't even look. That's not what we're going to say. We're going to provide some tips that are not so average and are more like what grandma would say, thinking, what she would have done during the Great Depression, right? That kind of stuff. She didn't have a 401k. That's not what she was thinking about. And so we're going to do those live calls. Um, all the information's at grandmaswealthwisdom.com/hope. And really the purpose behind that is to bring a lot of hope. So the first set of calls is for business owners, business leaders, entrepreneurs, independent contractors, the self-employed. We'll be talking about what you do in your business. And then the next call is going to be for individuals and families. Think about, what do you do to keep your family on track with managing your money during this crisis. And just this morning, I was Googling, are we in a recession right now? I don't do that. um, all the headlines said either we're there or we're going to be there soon, and it's going to be very, very bad. That's all you need to know. um, and so we're providing. Actually, I did that because I'm writing some podcast content that's all about how to manage your money during a recession and what grandma's wisdom is regarding that. So if we're going there, no matter how long it lasts, no matter how bad it is, what are some things that are in our control to do? And that's the kind of conversation we want to be having. Did I answer
Absolutely.
your question?
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen again real quick. Here's oh these guys these guys are marketers with their pop-ups. But gang, it's grandmaswealthwisdom.com, and the one that she gave us was Hope right here. And my computer might be a little slow because we have all this going on. But there you go. How to prepare. That's what she's talking about. That's what Miss uh, Amanda Neely is pointing us towards. So you talked about. Let's see. Did I stop the share? Yeah, I stopped the share. You talked about uh, keeping the big picture in mind, but smaller steps you can take today. So what are some of the smaller steps that you guys are working on, keeping you guys moving forward as we're going through all this craziness?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned we're marketers, so for all the business people out there, we're if the market went down 30%, we're thinking we're going to increase our marketing 30%, right? The lower it goes, the more we should be marketing because that's our story. Our story is beyond the market when people are thinking outside the market, and that's what a lot of people are doing. This goes back to when we were in the polar vortex in Chicago a couple years ago, and we owned a coffee shop. No one was leaving their homes. It was a very similar situation, and it lasted for 3 months. And
Wow.
that's when we looked at what were the things we wanted to be doing in our business that we had put off, and what of those things, what are the things that would make the biggest difference now? And we actually looked at our catering. We had been wanting to do more catering. We had a little bit of a catering business, but we said, how could we actually make this a real part of our business, a significant part of our revenue? And it turned out to be the best thing we could be doing during that time because people were still having, meetings at work that kind of they wanted food delivered to them rather than having to go out and get food, stuff like that. So we actually created a whole thriving catering business that helped us get through that polar vortex and continue to be a significant part of our revenue for the rest of our business, right? And helped us then sell it, and it's part of the new owners part of their business too, I'd imagine. And so that's kind of what we're thinking about too, is we have a whole list of ideas, a list of projects we could do. If we want to be providing more and more value to people, what of those projects could we do today? What's, that's going to make everything else easier or necessary, kind of that one thing idea. What's that guy's name? Dave, I don't remember that guy. The one thing book that he wrote.
Oh, Kelly, Gary Keller.
Gary Kelly. I knew it was Gary, but I couldn't think of his
Gary
last name.
Keller.
So we're kind of thinking along those lines, like where do we want to be at the end
So
of this recession, and
where do
what
you
could we
want to
do
be,
today?
and what are the things that you're working on? What are some of the specific actions that you're taking right now while we have this time?
Yeah, well, personally or for our business?
Either one.
Okay. Well, so personally, we just bought a house, and so we want to be in this house for the next 30 years. We don't want to default on our
Really?
mortgage, anything like
30
that. Yeah.
years though?
Maybe, well, 18 at least. Well, our son is 2, so um that so we're like we have all these things we want to do in our house, but we knowing we can't go out and buy a bunch of things, we whatever, we're prioritizing what's the most important to do today. So we haven't hung pictures on the wall because we need to go out and buy a bunch of picture hanging stuff, right? But we did get a washer and dryer installed, so we don't have to go to a laundromat, like practically speaking, those kind of things. One thing we're really thankful for is that we had been really intentional about building up an emergency fund, and we didn't use all that emergency fund when we bought our house. So we still have plenty of cash in the bank that can get us through whatever happens. But from other people that do what we do, that were doing what we did back in 2007, 2008, 2009, they're warning us we're about to get really busy. And so
Really?
we're because that's what happened to them at that point. And so we're trying to think what what blocks can we put in place? What things can we get done now while people are saying wait and see what happens, so that when people are then ready to make action, we've got plenty of time on our calendar. We're not worried about the emails we're going to be sending or the podcast we're recording or that kind of thing. So we're trying to block some of those, writing podcast content, recording some stuff, getting ahead, so we've got more time to serve people as they decide, okay, I'm done with being scared. I'm ready to take action. Amanda, Brandon, help me figure out what action to take. We want to be ready for them.
So is it because of the uncertainty in the market? I think the market lost like 60%. I don't know exactly how much. It's a bloodbath out there. Is that why people are going to start looking for other ways to stay safe, or is it something else?
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be asking, where is the best place to put my money right now? And they're going to think that answer is not the same as it was 3, 6 months ago, a couple years ago. Maybe there's a better place to put my money right now as we're riding out the recession. And those are the kinds of out of the box thinking that we do all the time. And so that's what we're experts in, thinking safe money, and how to protect your money rather than going after the biggest growth. If you look at most recessions, they don't bottom out for 18 months. And so that's kind of that's the thinking that we want to have is if this lasts a long time, how can we what is the best place to put your money, and how can we help people ask that question?
Yeah, I'm thinking, where can I bury some more money? Yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, we're all thinking about that. And so so you said you're getting ahead on your marketing so you have more time to service clients as they come in. So what's that look like? What's your planning process? What are you guys doing to shore up? Is it adding employees? Is it adding software? What are you guys doing to shore up right now?
Yeah, it's really all about focus. So staying focused on writing podcast content, getting those podcasts recorded, going the whole process of, then writing the email that goes out with the podcast, like all those things. Um, that's a big part of it. And then doing some extra things to say to even clients, like if you want to talk about what's happening right now, we want to give you first priority. So making sure they get that message. Let's do that 6-month review that we do, or here's the things you need to know that we're hearing from our partners in the mortgage industry, and that kind of thing, to make sure they're getting uh, the best service that they can. Because that's also part of marketing, right? Serving your clients the best, because then they're going to tell their friends and family about it. That's a key part of our business too. Um,
Do you believe
yeah.
that? Do you believe that they just tell their friends and family, or do you believe that you actually have to be proactive on that?
So it's both. There are some, maybe 1% of our clients that are sharers, right? They talk about their money with other people, and they'll send us referrals even if we didn't ask for them. But the majority of people, we have to kind of remind them, sharing is caring. If you know someone, please, the best a compliment you can give as a referral, those kind of things we have to say out loud.
You gotta ask.
Right.
You gotta ask. I hope you guys are asking. I like to share whenever we're on the insiders calls. I always share about you guys. I even opened with a share, but you know how shut tight I was for a long, long time. So it took a while to get under that,
Yeah,
and you
you
stuck
got to get
around.
comfortable, and yeah, and have that trust built up. That's totally a thing. And we share about you too, as much as we can. Whenever someone says, I'm thinking about starting a podcast, we're like, you need to talk to JR.
Get them over here. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about some of the things that you guys are doing to stay positive. Like, how do you stay positive? There's all this negative news. You said that you're watching your intakes. What are some of the other things that you're doing so we can share some tips out there, because there's people listening right now that probably need a tip or two to kind of get through this.
Yeah. And so that comes back to another grandmaism and of thinking long term. And when we look backward, we're not just looking the last 3 months and what's happened. We're looking at how has humanity withstood the test of time, right? I'm reading a book right now that's all about it's like it goes back to pre-Revolutionary War America and is tracing the history of politics and religion in America, which is like I'm totally nerdy about that. It's kind of a something I like to read about for fun.
What's the book
But
called?
what's it called? Religion. Hold on, I'll grab it. Religion and American Politics.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
thick
it's
book.
like a nice, yeah. But having that perspective, like I'm reading a chapter about religion post Civil War and the differences between how the South and the North were thinking about what had just happened. And that brings a totally different perspective to what's happening now, right? The Civil War was such a chaotic time in America, we were really nasty to each other during that time, and we're doing things that today um, would not be um, like they wouldn't go against our ethics of war policies or whatever you call those. And coming out of that, how we healed, that has some really like powerful things to share. Like to then like now we're social distancing, we might but not be nasty to each other, but there also is going to need to be some healing, from the harm that the market's done to us, that the virus has done to us, that um, just the economic, being laid off or knowing people that have been laid off. There's going to need to be some healing, and so thinking about as we come out of this, what can we learn from the Civil War, the 1918 flu, how have we healed in the past and what can that mean for us? Like that kind of, I love history. So thinking about history has really helped me stay positive during this time.
And I think that's something that's missing today. So we talked about what you can do today, what you can control, but I feel like you do, and I get into some of those things. But I feel like that's missing in so many people today. It's like we are in a microwave generation. People need
Yeah.
things fast food. They need it fast right now. 1 day delivery, 1 hour delivery. And so, what are some of the things that you do? Obviously, reading that book. How do you get that bigger perspective? How do you get that patience and bigger picture thinking?
Yeah, so reading, meditating, being tied into the spiritual side of who I am. You mentioned you're Catholic. I'm from a Christian faith background as well, although not what most people think of when I say that. But staying tied into, because this is a book about American history, right? There's another book that goes back to the beginning of the earth, right? um, and staying in that hum you know that kind of thinking, that humans are really resilient, and all these different stories of how we've withstood no matter what kind of things have happened in our history, like reading in the Old Testament about um, Ezra or Esther, and her story and how she saved a whole racial demographic through her courageousness in going before a king when that was not, she could have been killed to do that, right? And those kind of stories really give me the courage to say, what can I be doing to help others and to help myself and to get through this, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I like that you brought up the Bible and biographies, and if people would just wake up, they'd realize that we've had all kinds of things happen, and like you said, we're resilient, and the
Yeah.
best way to do it is to practice that resilience, be out here, be giving, be doing, and eventually you'll have more by all of that. So, what are you grateful for right now?
Oh, so many things. I, I I do that daily practice of writing I am grateful for, and then writing, and it's been so easy during this time. We've got this new house that we're in, and if we're going to be quarantined, it's so much better than where we were before. I actually wrote this morning, um, like we're community is really important to us, relationships are really important to us, and that was one of our biggest fears moving to a new city, is we have to start all over from scratch. We only know a couple family members here, but even the social interactions that we've had, I'm on like the Nextdoor app, so I can see what people are posting from our community. And it's such a positive energy here. And it feels like such a great move for us, that I'm grateful for this community, even though I can't go out and meet people right face to face. I was actually listening to a podcast from a couple of people here in Cincinnati that were talking today, and they said, the county that we just dropped into is going to be where Caucasian people like myself are the minority faster than the rest of the nation by about 5 years. And that really excites me, because
Wow.
I love being in a diverse culture and learning from people that are from different backgrounds than me. And I didn't know that before I moved here. But like, even I can't connect to people face to face, but I'm seeking out ways to connect with them socially or by listening to podcasts while I'm waiting for the opportunity to meet them face to face, that lifts my spirits a lot. And I'm really grateful that I can do that.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's actually something that Cupcake and I talk about all the time. I wanted to live in a city like this. I wanted to live downtown because I wanted the diversity in income, the diversity in ethnicities. Like I
Yeah.
wanted my son to see this because that's not what we were going to get where we were living. Like it was
Yeah.
everybody's the same socioeconomic background and we're all in the same cookie cutter houses. So that
Hmm.
excites me as well. So I get that. So you keep talking about podcasts, and I know that we all have more time. We have more time right now. We can read more books, listen to more podcasts. Obviously, people should be listening to Grandma's Wealth Wisdom to hear more from you and Brandon. What are some other podcasts that you would recommend?
Oh, I mean, obviously, Daddy's working, and any podcast put out by the Podcast Factory, for sure. Um, so I'm a total nerd, and I listen to economic podcasts. And I haven't listened like the ones I've been listening to. I haven't listened to their new like coronavirus episodes yet. They're on my list too. Um, but the ones I'm most excited to listen to their coronavirus episodes are this one called like capitalism, but they put an ISN apostrophe T at the end of capital. Capital isn't. Pitchfork economics. I might get a lot of unsubscribes if people know I'm listening to that podcast. That's a very like anti neoliberalism podcast that comes out of Seattle. And then probably my number one is building local power. Local businesses are going to be the ones most affected by this coronavirus, and this is by far my favorite podcast from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, Building Local Power. And I'm really excited to hear what they share about how to help the most vulnerable within our communities, so small business owners and the people that work for the small business owners. Those would be my three top ones.
Boom, there we go. So we are coming up to the end. Anything else you want to say as we're wrapping up?
Um, yeah, I guess like there are people that are eager to help right now, right? There are people that are willing to go pick up groceries for the elderly so that they have plenty of food in their home and don't have to go shopping for themselves. Um, there are people like JR, that are bringing out positive messages. And, if podcasting has been top on your list, of a project to get started, like he promises in your website, you could have that 30 days from now and be putting out your positive messages to the world. Like, I think that would be a great thing. If that's something someone's been considering, reach out to JR, talk to him about that. And if you're asking questions about how to manage your money during this time, what is the best place to be putting your money? If you want a safe relationship, to open your 401k account and look at the balance and strategize about it. Myself, my husband, Brandon, we'd love to do that with you. Again, grandmaswealthwisdom.com to find out more, and then particularly go to that hope, grandmaswealthwisdom.com/hope for how to do those live calls for sure.
Yeah, yeah. grandmaswealthwisdom.com/hope. Absolutely. Listen to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, listen to these guys. They are some of the most authentic, most generous, coolest people. Even though she keeps calling herself a nerd, I like you guys. I don't think you're nerdy. That nerdy. We're all nerds in our own way. But yeah, these I mean, Brandon and Amanda are amazing at what they do, and you should talk to them. They have helped us out quite a bit. So that is it. That is another the Daily Bread Project. We brought the light. We brought productivity. We brought what's good in the world today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your generosity with your time, Amanda. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.